What's up, people, ladies and gents? Hope all is well. Top of the morning. Today we're going to be discussing the Edgar Berlanga Hamzah Sheeraz fight. Let's talk about what I thought prior to the fight and how the fight played out. Now, prior to the fight, I did think that Hamzah Sheeraz was going to be victorious. I did think he was going to win. I felt that defensively and offensively he was better than Berlanga. I also thought that he had a credible chin. Sheeraz can get punched and continue to box. Berlanga has had a questionable chin for years. I sort of suspected that he didn't have a chin since his Marcelo Caceres fight. When he fought him and he got dropped, I knew, like, okay, this guy might not have a chin. And that was the first time he's been dropped to the canvas at that point. So, of course, I did call his chin into questioning. Canelo dropped him last September when they fought in the second round. Neither hit was that hard because Berlanga still got up and he didn't seem disoriented at all. With the Hamzah Sheeraz fight, though, boy, every single time he dropped, he was hurt when he got back up. That first knockdown, hard, you know. Second knockdown was the worst out of all three. And the third knockdown was like, you know, that was harsh too. You know, those punches that he received, and it was almost like he was going to get knocked down if Sheeraz's punch connected. I think in the first and in the third knockdown, if Sheeraz connected that punch while Berlanga was falling down on the floor, he would have been done. Especially in the first time he was knocked down, I think the fight would have been over then. I think he would have really had to leave the ring in a stretcher. You know what I mean? But it's boxing, man. It's an extremely, it's an excruciating sport, man. It requires a lot. It's a very physically demanding sport, and you have to be able to fight. You have to be able to make weight. You have to condition. You have to do all of these things in order for you to be effective in the ring. So, I think Sheeraz was just a better man that night, and it showed. You know what I mean? Berlanga has fought a bunch of opponents in the past before, first round stoppages, first king of the first round, as he likes to say it, but he hasn't fought anybody he hasn't fought the best of what the 168 division had to offer. I think Berlanga kept taking it. He had easy opponent after easy opponent, and it kind of left him complacent. You know what I mean? He's beaten so many easy opponents that it's like, in his head, he thinks that his power was extraordinary, when it wasn't. Canelo hits hard. A lot of guys within the 168 weight class can hit hard. Canelo, Benavidez, Munguia, Plant, Sheeraz, even though he's new to the 168 weight class. He's new to the super middleweight class in general, but, I mean, all these guys pack a punch. You know what I mean? But of course he felt that he had a God-given gift because he was fucking knocking guys out in the first round. You know what I mean? So if he was knocking all these guys, Steve Rolls and Patrick McCrory and Marcelo Caceres, all these guys, he was knocking them out. And it's like, of course he felt like he was the man. The guy that he fought after the Canelo fight was a fucking bum. Jonathan Garcia Ortiz, I think was his name. I don't even want to know what his fucking name was, but he's a bum. He's a fucking bum. He's got fat hanging off his hip. He looks very out of shape. You know what I mean? His physique was so unimpressive. Me, as a non-boxer, if I knocked him out, I would have never, paraded about it. I would have been like, okay, cool. I knocked this guy out. Big deal. You know what I mean? But, yeah, man, I think he's just been given opponents like that over and over and over again, if you take a look at any boxing forum and you see any pictures of Edgar Berlanga, because he's got fans on boxing forums and boxing posts and stuff like that. But if you see people in the comments always spam Uber driver fighter, grocery bag boy fighter, they're basically implying that he fights easy dudes. He fights dudes that are not a threat to him, that are not even a threat to the super middleweight division. You know what I mean? So of course he's become complacent, like I said, over time and time and time. So when you put him in the ring with somebody like a Canelo, you put him in the ring with somebody like a Sheeraz, or God forbid you put him in the ring with somebody like Benavidez, Benavidez is gonna fucking kill him. Benavidez is really gonna end up murdering him. I think they don't want to sanction a fight between Benavidez and Berlanga because they know he is ill-equipped when it comes to Benavidez. And Benavidez is only about 6 months older than Berlanga. About an inch taller than him, so it's not that, they're practically the same age, same height. You know what I mean? But they know that, he's not ready to fight Benavidez. Now, I think the Canelo fight was given to him, which I thought was odd. I thought he should have fought Caleb Plant before he fought Canelo. That's exactly how it's supposed to be. You know what I mean? Being that Caleb Plant lost to Canelo, I think he should have secured the spot by fighting Caleb Plant and then heading over to Canelo. But I think, you know, I don't know who sanctioned that fight, whether it was Turki Al-Sheikh or Eddie Hearns. Somebody said, you know what, let's give this kid the biggest payday of his career and have him fight Canelo. And that's exactly what happened. I think Canelo was a financial move on Edgar and his team's part. You know what I mean? They knew that he wasn't ready to fight Canelo, but that would be the most amount of money he's ever made. And anybody who fights Canelo is guaranteed to make millions. At least $1 million or better. You know what I mean? Even me, they could grab me off the street and put me in a ring with Canelo. They're giving me at least $1 million. Like, you know, I would obviously try to negotiate for more, but definitely $1 million. Nothing short of $1 million. You know what I mean? But I think if Berlanga fought Caleb Plant, he would have been given a little more respect. You know, and not to mention, like, he went 12 rounds with an old man. That's what a lot of people don't realize. Like, he went to 12 rounds. He went the distance with a guy who was 34 years old at the time. Canelo's 35 now. They fought last September. Canelo was 34. At 34, 35, in the sport of boxing, you are considered a dinosaur. As far as anybody else is concerned, you are considered a dino, a dinosaur. You get what I'm saying? There's no way around that. You know what I mean? So you got to take that into consideration, man. You know, he's not a spring chicken anymore. But yeah, he did go the distance with him, and I think Canelo could have made quick work out of Berlanga if he wanted. I don't know what backroom talk they had or behind the closed doors talk that they had with Al-Sheikh and Canelo. I think there was something said about him having to go the distance with Berlanga. I don't know, maybe people that were gambling, it had something to do with that. But like I said, I mean, him going, you know, 12 rounds with Canelo was never impressive to me. Like I said, Canelo's of age. He's at that age where it's like, you know, he's not hungry anymore. The mentality too. Like, don't get me wrong, Canelo is always, he strikes me as a fighter who remembers what it was like not to be booked, to earn few dollars for, you know, brutal fights back in his heyday, like back in his early days. But still, you know, now he's made millions and millions and millions. That man is situated. You know what I mean? He doesn't have to box again. After this Terrence Crawford fight, I think he should just hang up his gloves for good. And, you know, that's the reason why I think Berlanga is not going to get that rematch with Canelo. Canelo's going to fight Bud Crawford, and then maybe he's going to retire. Or if he wants, maybe he can fight Sheeraz. But fighting Sheeraz is almost like fighting Benavidez. They both walk around at the same weight. They're both around the same height, and they're both around the same age. I don't think Canelo is going to risk it. I think he's just going to fight Bud Crawford and just retire after that. You know, happily ever after. He's probably going to stay within the boxing space, maybe as a commentator, maybe as a promoter, who knows. But as far as him boxing, I think for his own health's sake, he should just stop. After this fight, hang up your gloves, you know, call it a career and be done with. And I think the same should be said for Crawford. I think these guys are just, you know, pushing past their prime now, and I don't think it's safe for them to keep doing that. But Berlanga, on the other hand, is 28 going on 29, hasn't won a world title yet, lost to Sheeraz, lost to Canelo. He's the only other fighter that I could see him fighting against or challenging is Caleb Plant. And that's because him and Caleb Plant have some similarities. Number one, Caleb Plant lost to Canelo himself. So that's for one. For two, he's coming back from a loss himself. Caleb Plant, that was, you know, he was in a loss. The last fight that he fought, he lost to his opponent. So I think with that being said, they're both in the same, you know, like stratosphere almost, you know what I mean? So I think that's the best thing for him to do. I think he should challenge Caleb Plant. If he ends up winning somehow, good for him. If he ends up losing, it's time for him to move on. I think he should hang up his gloves too, because I don't think there's anybody else in the 168 division that he can fight if he wants to stay at that weight class. Now, Berlanga has made mention that he wanted to move up to heavyweight. Listen, dog, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that's going to happen. Now, I know why he thinks that. He thinks that because he packs a punch and, you know, heavyweights are slower on average, that he can survive. No, absolutely not. You know, heavyweights, if you don't have a chin at 168, what makes you think you're going to have a chin at 200 plus pounds? It just doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? The most I could say is if he wants to move up, maybe move up to light heavyweight. But again, time is not on his side at this point. You know what I mean? I don't know anybody in the 175 division or the light heavyweight division that he can fight without getting wrecked. What the fuck is he going to do? Move up and fight Bivol? That's not going to happen. It's not gonna happen. Evo would fucking kill him. You know what I mean? All these other fighters in the 175 division would probably kill him too. So, you know, I think the best thing for him to do is take this Caleb plan as serious as possible. You know what I mean? Condition himself, you know, maintain that mentality that he had before he fought Canelo, and, you know, strap his boots and pray for the best, man. Prayer and training, those are his two focuses in order for him to win against Plant, you know. But I don't see him winning against Plant either, man, to be honest with you. I don't want to sound like a hater, but it's true. I don't see him winning against Plant. I really don't. So if he, like I said, if he does end up losing to Plant, I think he should just invest in some of those businesses that he has in Miami or Florida, and maybe stay within the boxing avenue. Maybe stay within boxing. He could stay as a commentator or, you know, promoter, something. But as far as him getting in the ring and challenging fighters and making weight and all this, nah, I don't think so. I definitely don't think so. But again, it's his career. He does what he wants. Doesn't change anything for me. But, you know, again, just as a fan looking in from the outside, that's exactly what I would think. That's what I'm assuming. So yeah, man, I don't know about him, but Sheeraz, on the other hand, has longevity in his career. I think maybe if Canelo wants to take that fight, like I said earlier, maybe Canelo can challenge Sheeraz if Sheeraz doesn't want to move up to light heavyweight. But yeah, I think Sheeraz can be able to move to light heavyweight because he's new to the 168 division anyway. So, you know, I think if he wants to move up, he can. But I think there are also some people that he wants to fight in this super middleweight class. So I think either or, you know, he's going to be promised that. And the fact that Al-Sheikh is on his side just goes to show that, you know, he's most likely going to get what he desires at this point, since he won. And he won in TKO fashion. You know, he knocked Edgar Berlanga down 3 times throughout his fight with him. By the 5th round, he had already won. So it's like, you know, everything he said came to fruition as far as what he wanted to do to Edgar, you know. But yeah, man, yeah, it's hard to tell where he's going with his career either. Now, another thing I wanted to talk about was the hand wraps. Everybody keeps talking about Sheeraz's hand wraps. Dude, Sheeraz injured his hand. The commission watches you as you're wrapping your hand after and before the fight. A member or members of Berlanga's team also view the wrapping before and after the fight. Like, he had his wraps had NYS, like, they were approved before he fought. You know what I mean? The New York State Athletic Commission, like, they said that he was good to fight. You know what I mean? So I don't see why they're, you know, continuously bringing up him cheating. Like, nah, he didn't cheat at all, man. His hand was hurt. Maybe he had a little more padding in his hand, but I don't think there was anything under that padding. So, you know, and funny thing is, Berlanga's not even the one coming up with these excuses. It's a bunch of his fans. You know, a bunch of his fanboys are going crazy over Sheeraz's hand wraps. You know, no need for that. At the end of the day, you just got to be able to, you know, stay grounded, you know, and like I said, fight harder in your next fight with Plant or whoever your next opponent would be. But yeah, and a lot of people also talk about, like, Berlanga's attitude towards, you know, his opponents, you know, the rapper image, or, you know, the fashionista that he is. Listen, you need that in boxing. You need shit talking in boxing. Now, me personally, I don't think Berlanga's the best shit talker. I really don't. I don't think that he's as good as he says he is. No, I don't think he's as good as he thinks he is on a mic. I don't think he has any, like, gifted shit talking skills. I think it's very forced, his persona. But again, you need to hear that, you know, because it makes it entertaining. People tune into the fight to see the loudmouth get beat up. That's exactly why people watched Ali's fights. That's exactly why people watched Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather amassed a lot of his money because of the persona that he put on in the ring. He kept saying, I'm this pretty boy Floyd, nobody's better than me, I'm better than Ali. He was making all these egregious statements, so much so that he fucking, you know, people would tune in. People would pay top dollar to see him get his ass kicked. And guess what? He never did. He retired with a 50-0 record. It bothers so many people, from Larry Merchant and a lot of other reporters to fucking boxing fans themselves, you know? Like, you need that. That image that he portrays is not a problem to me. It never was a problem to me. What is an issue is him maintaining the opinion that he's the best within the super middleweight class. That's a problem. Don't say you're the best when you haven't fought anybody who was considered good. That's my issue with him. Like, you know what I mean? You want to talk shit about your opponent? Go ahead. Call him a giraffe. Say you're going to knock him out. That's cool. That's what gets people to tune into the fight. Come to the event, come to the press conference with 50 Cuban link chains on, you know what I'm saying? You could do that. But at the end of the day, You need to understand that you more than likely are going to get your ass kicked if you are not prepared for that fight. And what I mean by prepared is not just simply training, but gaining that expertise, fighting people that are worthy of mentioning. You get what I'm saying? That's like me playing basketball with a bunch of middle schoolers and then me bragging about how good at basketball I am. How do you expect me to be taken seriously boasting about the middle schoolers that I played against when I'm a grown-ass man? I'm 28 years old. First of all, me playing with middle schoolers is, you know, that's a violation. I'm not supposed to be playing with minors. Second of all, these guys are not as good as I am. You get what I'm saying? So people are eventually going to say, why don't you play with people your own size? Why don't you play with people that are more challenging, more competitive for you? Why not play in a bigger environment? You know what I mean? So that's exactly how I see it. It's like eventually people are going to call your record into questioning. You get what I'm saying? But I think the best thing right now is just to see exactly what he's going to do. And, you know, like I said, pray and train. That's about the only thing he could do in order for him to rebuild whatever career he has left, you know. But yeah, man, if you agree with what I'm saying, leave a comment down in the comment section below. If you disagree, do the same thing. If there's any other fights that you guys would like me to speak about, do that, you know, do the same exact thing. Leave the comment down in the comment section below. There was a video that I had with a buddy of mine where I was explaining who would win in a Mike Tyson versus Muhammad Ali fight. I'm not sure what the hell he did with the clip, but it was about an hour long of us just continuously arguing about who we thought would win the fight and why we thought the person that we picked would win the fight. So I'm gonna see if I could drop that video down. Maybe that's something that you guys are interested in. But yeah, if there's any other video, if I do end up dropping it and you guys like it, you know, drop down in the comment section who you would like me to talk about. You know, either current boxers or boxers of the past, you know what I mean? Or, you know, top prospects. But anyway, with that being said, man, peace. I'm out. Safety.